Damn, two Naruto-related videos flopping on the channel back to back to back. For context, I consider a flop anything that's under 100 views, which is now my new threshold for video success. If you can only get 100 views on anything, that's great. So screw it, I'm changing the schedule around. Let's talk about Naruto and Boruto again, and this time it includes Choji and Karuri's daughter, Chocho. In a controversial series that already exists, she's tied with Ada, Daemon, Kawaki, Sarada, Konohamaru, Himawari, and Boruto himself as the most divisive character in the Boruto franchise, to the point Reddit had her as the least liked character of the new generation. But I like her enough, and I'll tell you why. Tap out of 5 princess if they actually made it far, or watched the video so I know that you did, and so that I can define other open-minded Boruto and Naruto fans, and let's get started. First off, don't get me wrong, I understand why people don't like her. Chocho is pretentious, but she has this weird mix of being confident, arrogant, lazy, and yet self-aware of herself and her own weaknesses that comes around to being hilarious, which I kind of appreciate. Then there's the fact that a lot of the new generation are accused of being too similar to their parents. The only one I can really only claim that is true is like for maybe Shikadai, because he's basically Shikamaru but friendlier at the start and much less lazy, plus starts out with a better relationship with his Spiky Pikachu. But you really can't say that about Chocho. Choji was nice outside at the time. He hated Naruto like everyone else and wanted to eat Akamaru for some reason. What the hell, Kishimoto? But Choji had confidence issues a lot unless he was motivated by food. And while Chocho has these insecurities, she's much more confident in herself usually until those insecurities come to light. And her mother was kind of abrasive, and while Chocho has no filter either, she's not as impulsive as Karuri is. A lot of close-minded fans will tell you that Boruto's generation hates Naruto's generation, even though in reality a lot of them worship and adore the legends, even if they aren't their parents, and we see that with her with Naruto and the Gaiden. Plus, we know based on chapter 700, Chocho and Anko do hang out and get along. Kind of wish the Academy arcs and future arcs focus on that a little bit more, but I'm glad that there's a bond outside of just their parents. Also, for some reason, there's been this war on masculine women or being traditionally feminine instead of just letting people and characters exist within stories. And Chocho is allowed to be both. She's got her romantic fantasy tendencies where she thinks every guy into her. Well, she thinks every guy is into her, but thinks she's so above them that she has to turn them down. Which I can see being annoying, if not for Sadao's reaction just kind of going with it and Mitsuki playfully snarking at her every chance she tries it. Also, if we're going back to insecurities, Chocho feels like nobody gives her attention. Sarada points out she is and wants to be proud of her own beauty in spite of her own worries about her weight. And Chocho even admits to Sarada that in spite of how proud she is, she gets insecurities about whether or not she's taking advantage of her teammates. Hence why in the anime she wanted to train to improve. I remember the line in episode 222 when they were preparing for the second tuning exams where Sarada tells her, "I think that's great, that part of you." And Chocho says, "Well, you're the only one I can talk to about these kind of things, right?" So, when Chocho locks in, she locks the hell in. For examples, Chocho versus Shinki. She hates using human boulder because it clashes with her ideals of beauty, but as she tells Shinki, you never know until you try it, and naturally she doesn't win, but she is able to push Shinki back a bit and force him to actually use some effort in the tournament for the first time. Yeah, people wanted Metal to fight Shinki because nostalgia, but I don't care. The anime made the point that the Leaf Shinobi of the new generation had their pride that they needed to protect, and she was the first to make Shinki feel that. And then in the Stone Arc, she was able to help out Sarada and Boruto fight Kako, while thanks to Akun's sacrifice, Chocho was able to land a finishing blow to Kokyu. Then in the Kawaki arc, the anime added an episode where Chocho and Team 10 work with Kakashi to find Kashin Koji's hideout, which I like because it explained why Kashin Koji and Amada would have enough detail on the village, addressed Koji as a means to avoid detection since he's Jiraiya's clone, and the best part is, it was her idea to find it. Not only was her hunch correct, since she also ended up finding blueprints towards the data, even Kakashi gave her credit for that, which you have to respect. And she got her boys on the train to catch the clone. And it justifies why they were training for Amado's defection chapter being adapted. And then we get to Chocho versus Sarada. Not only was Chocho pulling out all the stops keeping up with Sarada, using taijutsu, doubling up on both her partial expansion jutsu hands, punching lightning balls before she gets overwhelmed, and yet still refusing to let Sarada feel any sympathy for her, decking her hard enough to hit the wall. Once she gets Sarada to focus on defeating her, she counters Fireball Jutsu with Human Boulder and takes another one that dives and smashes her into the ground. But she even gets more serious as Sarada revs up to Chidori. Chocho activates Butterfly Mode, flies in as Sarada charges in, and the two clash in arguably one of the best Kunoichi versus Kunoichi fights in the series. And yeah, she loses, but Sarada was made team captain in the manga, so it makes more sense for Sarada to promote a Chunin. But she and Sarada are able to make the symbol of friendship, and hey, even if you dislike her, you have to give her props. Actually felt bad she lost that fight, but she did the very best that she could. And even in Two Blue Vortex, she's been training Himawari after Boruto left. Kawaki swapped her memories, and she's not only been looking after her like a sister, but has also been guiding and helping her in fights against Mamushi. Moegi said it herself. She's got talent, she just lacks motivation. Wait, so if you like Chocho, what's the problem? Well, there's a few. One, her lack of focus in the manga in parts 1 and 2. Yeah, Team 10 doesn't get that much to do in part 1's manga, which plot-wise I get, but everyone agrees they should have had at least some involvement beyond getting their butts whipped by Yamato. In part 2, it's gotten slightly better since Inoshi and Show have more to do. Noting that they fought the Claw Grimes, but Inojin has his plotline with Kashin Koji, Kobu, and Himawari, and Shigadai's dealing with his father keeping secrets and dealing with working with Boruto. But we've gotten no insight into Chocho behind her relationship with Himawari. And granted, she's gotten stronger clearly, and I like the new design, but I just need a bit more from her. 2, it's the fact that her focus episodes in the anime are mismanaged. To play devil's advocate, guys, she's really only had like 4 focus episodes, and yet people say she gets way too many filler arcs that are horribly animated, written in paste. But as someone who actually pays attention and tries not to forget certain things, the only one you can really call an arc are like the first 3, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't hate it. Yeah, someone who has issues with their body, I get what the arc was going for, and the theme's about keeping true to yourself and your shape. I saw people say it was confusing because they can't decide what's on the outside versus the inside is what matters. But from my understanding, the idea was that Chocho using butterfly mode isn't something she's ready for because she doesn't have the power to be effective. And it's something she will eventually be able to master with more time, but at her current state, she still has her own skills that she's good at, since it would affect her, since you shouldn't use a jutsu in battle unless you perfected it, a la Kakashi's Chidori, giving him tunnel vision. But the problem was that the episodes themselves are kinda boring. Like, we just got the Naruto and Boruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight a week before, and I get wanting a breather since they have the Metal and Rock episode, then they're gonna start the Stone arc, and this was on Kishimoto's draft that he pitched to the studio for the anime episodes. But my solution, outside of making it 2 episodes instead of 1, would have retooled it into Chocho trying to master butterfly mode after seeing how far she could push herself against Shinki in the exams, but she tries to stay in the form and doing a rogue ninja attack where enemies are taking advantage of the damages caused by the Atsuki invasion. Chocho also puts people at risk, feeling pressure to master it, and you can still have her friends encourage her to polish what she's already good at, since they know that she's been working on her strength. You get the same message, but it wouldn't feel too jarring of a tone switch. And I know you all might be thinking, aren't you talking about how she made butterfly mode a joke because when Choji did it, he was risking his life and it was a death sentence? Yeah, no, I'm not one of those people who spouts misinformation. It's the red pill. No, not the Manosphere one. It causes dangerous side effects and the high probability of death. And Chocho even admitted at the time she couldn't amp up to maximum power to use it. Choji taught her how to use calorie control like how his father taught him, but she lacks the power for it. And before someone says, I don't know what I'm talking about, this was the conversation in the Naruto Shippuden manga. In chapter 534, Ino and Shikamaru directly think and ask if he was using the pills, since Shikamaru noticed that when he activated butterfly mode, it was the same effect that the red pepper pill causes. And Choza tells them that he'll be fine. That's the Akimichi clan secret calorie control technique that pills just make it easier. He's doing it without their help. So no, you don't need the pills to use butterfly mode. So if you're saying that I'm wrong, either you didn't pay attention, didn't watch the Shippuden anime since it stopped airing on Disney XD, didn't bother to pay attention when you read it in the manga, or you're saying Choza's a liar. Either way, you're still wrong. As for the Anko episode where she masters butterfly mode, I do like we saw their friendship and them going on missions with an older character outside their parents and sensei's school, and I get the episode played on their love for Dango, but considering this was a power-up episode, they really could have made the threat a bigger deal. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Anko's massively overrated and didn't do anything to warrant her hype besides exist to show the curse mark, almost end her life to an Orochimaru clone and be used as a battery for Kabuto. Heck, Ibisu got more to do than her out of all the special Jonin. But considering this came between the Mujina Bandits episodes and the Kara Actuation arc, I would have had it just be that the beans were also being stolen by a group of wild Mujina Bandit members that are still active, and Chocho still struggling to use it, then have Anko fight off most of them but takes a hit defending the villagers, so Chocho locks in and channels calorie control throughout her whole body and takes out the remaining gang members. You just retool what works. 3, these are less criticisms and more expectations for her for Two Blue Vortex going forward. I hope the anime and the manga take advantage of. Her friendship with Sadara needs to be addressed. We can imply thanks to Omnipotence, Sadara grew distant from Team 10 since Sumire is the only one who knows the truth that aren't the cyborgs, so naturally they would bond more. But I feel like with Sadara becoming more serious, Chocho and Sadara really need to have a heart-to-heart. The manga needs to show her use of butterfly mode eventually. The problem is I feel like they need it, like they need for it to be treated like a big deal, and she needs a good opponent for that. Heck, I feel like in the Stone Village arc, she should have tried to use it, but that's just me. But even the anime made sure to have her next fight upon mastering it to use against Sarada for the Chunin exams. In the manga, it seemed like Matsuri was going to fight both Konohamaru and Inashikacho, but the latter part didn't happen, so I'm hoping we get a Shinju for at least one of the legends that she has a close connection to. My idea would be to have Anko be eaten and turned into a Shinju. That would be a sleeker, darker take on what she would look like with the Curse stage mark, which should give Chocho the incentive and the drive to use Super Butterfly mode in Two Blue Vortex to save her older friend. But that's what I like about Chocho and the room for improvement that I see that she needs. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Thanks for watching, and BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.